As early as next week, lawmakers in the full House could hold Eric Holder in contempt of Congress. It's an action never before taken against a sitting attorney general. At issue, fast and furious, and Holder's reluctance to turn over documents that presumably show whose idea it was to allow thousands of illegal weapons to get into the hands of Mexican drug cartels. The ATF insists the operation was an effort to track the guns to other traffickers, but was it? Some Republicans say it was much more than that.
People forget how all this started. This administration is a gun control administration. They tried to put the violence in Mexico on the blame of the United States. So they concocted this scheme and actually sending our federal agents sending guns down there and trying to cook some little deal to say that we've got to get more guns under control.
The NRA, the National Rifle Association, agrees. In a letter supporting the contempt resolutions, the NRA's Chris Cox writes, quote, "We first called for Attorney General Holder's resignation more than a year ago. The department's obstruction of congressional oversight of a program that costs lives in support of an anti-gun agenda." Cox adds, the NRA will consider this vote in our future candidate evaluations. CNN political contributor Roland Martin is here to help us parse this out. We invited Will Cain, too, who leans right, but he must have had some sort of emergency. He couldn't make it, so we are left with you, Roland, and we're happy about that. We're happy you're here.
Likewise.
Okay, so you heard what I just said. I mean, what is really behind the actions being taken against Eric Holder and Fast and Furious? Is it real concern about this border agent who was killed? And I'm sure there's real concern there. But is it also about the gun control issue?
Of course, it is about shameful politics. It is not about this Border Patrol's death, because here's the deal. If you look at the documents that Congressman Issa is requesting, or Issa, whatever the last name, he wants the documents after the agent's death. Now, if you truly want to get to the heart of the issue, you'll be investigating this whole issue from the beginning. Have we had any public testimony of the former head of the ATF in Phoenix? Have we had any public testimony of the agents in that Phoenix office? No. Issa wants to go after the Attorney General. And so this is a sham. It's an absolute joke. And I know the right-wingers out there, I dealt with them on Twitter yesterday, and they're running off at the mouth trying to blame the agent's death on Holder, but it's ridiculous. And now this whole deal is concocting this whole plan to somehow circumvent the Second Amendment. I mean, this is absolute crazy talk. Pure and simple.
I will say that Eric Holder made things more difficult for himself because he kind of told one story to Congress and then he came back another time and said, oh, I misspoke. I might kind of wonder about that if I'm a congressperson.
Of course. I mean, obviously you want to get to the bottom of the issue, but again, exactly what is the motivation here? And so when you all of a sudden hear the NRA making their threats by saying how you vote on this, we're going to factor in terms of how we support future candidates, we see what the game here is. They have been after this president and Holder from day one, somehow believing they want to outlaw all guns. That is constantly being their whole motive. And so for Republicans to say, this is what we think is going on, here's the problem, Carol. How do you disprove something that's a fallacy? And so they're saying, we think they concocted this, so you need to disprove a delusional thought. That's utter nonsense.